Okay, so in this chapter, we're going to use the layout generator to mask off different devices and create some more complicated node networks. And also, we're going to mix in some different types of erosions. So to start, let's clean up this scene we were just working in. Now, all we really need at this stage is a Voronoi to test out the layout generator. So up in the layout generator button, click that and add it to your scene under generator. Now on the output on the top right, we can plug that into the mask in the bottom of the Voronoi. Most devices have a mask input on the bottom, and a layout generator is a very common way to plug the mask in. So we can double click layout generator, and we won't see anything yet until we add the actual shape or line. So in this case, we'll do the polygonal spline and make another zigzag spline around the border. And what this is eventually going to do is create some interesting intersections for that Voronoi. So we can right click to finalize the shape, and you can see the constant height around the border. The very center of the spline is full bright. Now if we go into shape list, we can pick our spline here and go into shape properties by clicking the pencil and choose the fall off distance that we want to use. So let's try something like this, and we'll jump back to our device view at the top. Now when we click on Voronoi, we'll see the procedural Voronoi mixing in with the mask that we had just created. So if we want, we could go add further shapes into that layout generator. Right now I'll try a polygon tool and add that. Again, I'll right click to finalize. Now we see how that's blending in, and now I'll close out the shape properties and reopen it under the shape list for it to update. Like I said, it's kind of annoying in this view. Now we can adjust the default height, so we can adjust the fall off as well. Each shape can have its own settings, completely independent. We'll stick with this on the curve type. Go back to our device view, and now we can see how that affects the new blending of the Voronoi and the mask. Another important note is if you left click on your preview, you can change the lighting angle if you're curious what the geometry looks like, and you can get a better view. Now let's go to the full 3D view and build it, see it at a higher resolution. Again, we'll go to our world extends in resolution, and we still have it on 1024 for a preview. And if you're running the test version of World Machine, it defaults to 512 and doesn't let you go higher. And it's a shame, because it's really hard to get an idea of what's going on with some of these generators if you're at 512. So here's our 1024 build. Right now it's really hard-edged and crisp shapes because we don't have any erosion hooked up. So there's definitely some interesting things. We can see how the masking is affecting the Voronoi. So by using the mask with the procedural generator, you can get really specific layouts and block it in a matter of minutes. And if you start completely pure in World Machine, the end results are going to be a lot cleaner and better. Now let's go ahead back to our device view, hook up the erosion. We'll click the presets again, and we'll try the World Machine plus power once again. So let's give this a build and see how it's looking. Okay, so obviously a huge improvement over no erosion. I think this is becoming a really good starting point. There's some nice clean areas on the ground. It's all about contrast, and you want detail. You want contrast and detail levels as well as values and everything. So the next thing I'd like to show is a quick trick using the combiner. Now, if you notice, I dropped the device right in between a connection. Sometimes it'll hook it up automatically. So the cool thing is, if we want to take this Voronoi and just increase the overall intensity, we can combine it with itself and change the method to add. So this will give you a real quick shortcut to adjust the overall intensity or amplify your values. So now I'm going to go back and load up one of the file inputs we used before from a height map that was pre-authored. Again, I'll put it back to full range and say OK. Remember, anytime you click a node, it'll give you a preview of that current state unless you actually do the lock preview button on the bottom left. So I can click lock preview on erosion. Now, in any device I change prior to that, the erosion will still be visible. It'll be the end result. So we'd have to unlock erosion to get the real-time preview again. Now, the reason that is important is because I can lock the preview here and go back and add another layout generator or copy and paste our previous one. So I want to have these disconnected at first. That way I can lock the preview on the file input. Now I can double click the layout generator and block in my mask with the mountain still visible. So I'll use my polygonal tool once again, and I'm going to mask off the main shape of this mountain. And right click to finalize the shape. Now, in order for me to see the fall off and have better control, I need to go back and unlock the file input, go back to layout generator. And that was necessary because I needed to see the mountain in order to mask it off. But now that I have it, I can undo the lock preview and just focus on the fall off distance. Go back to device view, and now I can hook up the mask, and we should click on file input and see what information is coming through now. So basically, we just cropped out some of the outside information, and it's a good way to decide which information you want to blend with other node networks. So now we can add a combiner again. We're combining the results of our first pass with this file input node. So we'll go back to add. This way we're not losing our initial Veronian layout generator. We're just adding to it. So we'll say OK. This is really similar to how we started the demo level once again. All right, now we have some really dynamic layering of the mountains. Basically, by doing a couple of those combiners mixed in with the file input and some of our Veronis, we got some really interesting results. And this is, again, it's that experimenting and just seeing what can happen. So there's really no limit to how many kind of things you blend together or mask together. You can even mask erosions. So let's give that a shot now. To start, I'm going to copy and paste the erosion we already have and hook the output into the input of the second erosion. So in its current state, this would just do the erosion effect twice. So now I'm going to create another mask here. Now I'm just going to make another interesting spline that cuts through our entire visible area. Right click to finalize, and again, unlock the preview. Go back into the layout generator so I can mess with the fall off. Now we hook the layout generator up to the second erosion. Let's try some different presets and see if we can notice the different erosions blending together based on this mask. So I'm looking for an effect that's a little bit heavy-handed so we can really spot the difference. Cranking the erosion base duration and the channel depth have quite a bit of an effect on the end result. So I'm going to tweak those. Now, using the preview for erosion is a little hard since it is the lower resolution. It gives you some feedback, but it's not that great. So ultimately, you'll really want to build things before you can make the judgment call. So I'm going to build this. So now you can actually see some of the spline cutting through, giving some interesting hard edges. This might be a little unnatural. I'd probably go and add some more vertices to that spline. But it is adding some interesting lighting planes. So essentially, along that spline, we're having twice the erosion effect, and that's creating that really crisp line. I kind of like what's going on right here. That kind of variety is definitely going to add to your overall scene. We could find more erosion types under the Natural tab. And on the right side, there's Coastal erosion. So let's left click that and left click again to apply it to our scene. Hook up our output to the input. And we'll double click Coastal erosion. Now you can watch the preview. You can see how the water level creeps in. You can increase it. Basically, it's washing away some of the detail and crispness, creating the kind of waterline effect. The beach size is how harsh the water level blends in with the beach level. You can change transition from a cliff to smooth, and likewise the power for each. So I'm going to take my beach size down to get a little bit of a harder edge. Give this one a build, take a look. All right, so this changes the dynamic of this map quite a bit. It looks natural in some spots, but overall it's a little too clean, too consistent on that line. So we can also use a mask here to break that up. So let's hop back in our device view, lock the preview, go to generator and add another layout generator. Double click, and we'll do the same thing we did with that second erosion. And now let's build this one last time. Take a look. So it feels a lot more subtle, but I like the variety here as well. That line isn't consistent anymore. It's kind of fading in and out, and I think that's a little more realistic. So that sums up our chapter. Again, we talked about using the layout generator to mask off certain devices, and we also went into using combiners to amplify your overall values. We've strung a couple erosions together with masking. And lastly, we went over to the coastal erosion effects. So thank you.